Hello, quilter friends. I'm Linda V. Taylor, and this is Best of Both Worlds. Today, these boots are made for walking. Thank you so much for joining me today. Have you ever had a quilt with cowboy boots? This is my second one, and I finally just developed some patterns for it. I just want to show you how I personalized the quilt and found some really fun patterns to go on it, and then of course freehand as well. So let's get started. Here's a picture of the quilt before it was quilted, and it is a big quilt. This was about 96 long and 80 wide. So the boots are fairly large, and they're so fun to do. So this is what I'm facing, and you can see that there are multiple borders on the outside. So I'm going to have one on the outside, one on the inside, but the real fun part is the inside border is plain fabric, a pretty blue, and so I am going to be able to do some really fun things in that border. And the sashings are quite wide too, so I'm going to show you how I handled those. The first thing you're going to need to do is to stitch in the ditch between those borders and the corner sets, which are the squares on the outside, and go around each of the squares around the boots. So close to the boots, stitch in the ditch and around the squares and get down to the other end of the quilt. Then you can start putting your borders on and all the rest of the fun designs. Okay, as usual, to start with, I just went through and found some wonderful patterns. I love this little cowboy on the Bronco, and these were square patterns, which all kinds of Western ideas. Make them a little bit bigger so you can see them. I really liked the boot with the moon. And I also loved the star. And I thought this was a great border. But I chose instead to go with the border that has, let me take the grid off, then you can see it. The border that has the hats and boots and not the cactus. So this was the outside border actually, so I put a boot facing this way and a boot facing this way, and then I just did the overall pattern in the outer border. Now for the writing, I did writing in all the borders, and I also did writing around some of the boots. So depending on how much you want it to stand out, I did just some ideas for you. Yippee-ki-yay. This was a really good one on the bottom of the quilt. If you climb into the saddle, be ready for the ride. And I did Life is Better in Cowboy Boots. I think I put a little motif on each side of that. Don't Fence Me In, Cowboy Up, Giddy Up, I Love Horses, and then on a boot that was vertical, I did Happy Trails to You. So I put a lot of these on the sides of the boot in the area where I also did the freehand if it had enough room. This one, Cowboy Boots are the glass slippers of Wyoming. I guess you could use that for whatever state you live in if you have cowboys. And that one would be more for a girl, I suppose. I didn't use that one on this one because I knew it was for a boy. Life is Better in Cowboy Boots. And then If You Climb into the Saddle, Be Ready for the Ride. I know those are really hard to see. But in the big outer border, I did the printing like that. And here's one so you can kind of see a little bit better. Here's the motif that I used on both sides of this, and then I used that star, really a little bit more intricate, a little bit more quilting in the corner. Same thing in this corner over here. And then in between, I put these boots are made for walking, exclamation point. So that was at the top of the quilt, but this was the inner border, not the outer border. Now in the sashings, you can see it's in the red. There were so many borders on this quilt. I used this as a block with the cowboy hats and the cowboy boots, and then I put the little Bronco with the cowboy. And then I love this barbed wire pattern. My husband made this for me for this quilt, and it worked out wonderfully in this fabric around in all of the sashings, because there wasn't much that would show up in the sashing anyway because of the colors and the pattern. So, but that barbed wire was perfect. Now, for the boots, I mean, they're really important. So I just did a whole new series of patterns for boot designs. They come in a half like this one right here. And then I also have a little one that you can put at the beginning and on the tops of the boots or at the heels. But these patterns, you can just rubber stamp them, and let's just put one together for you so you can see. Then I can just turn that, flip it horizontally, and then I can flip it upside down, and I can flip, and I can change the two sides over. And this is this very same pattern right here, and you can see all the variations that you can make. This is another one. This one's flipped upside down. This one's turned sideways. And then this little piece right here can fit on the top of a boot or even at the heel, and you'll see that on some of the ones that I did. I do still do a lot of freehand on them, but oh, they're awesome. And you would also have probably quilted a line down here. And what I did was 2 lines, so I could just start at the top and then come back like that. So all these boots would have a line stitched like that. And some of them are simpler, but again, they can be switched up any way you want. Just have so much fun with these fun designs and make those boots fancy. That is so awesome. This was a really, really fun quilt to do. I just have so much fun writing on them and making the boots just awesome, and I hope you get a quilt like this. For some of the boots, I did a little design on the very top of the boot because I looked up cowboy boots on the internet and they were fancy. Also, some of the boots have a little design on the heel. So don't be afraid to, especially for your boot, applique boot is very big, to put plenty of designs on it. You can also look at the fabric. Sometimes you can just follow some of the fabrics and the design in the fabric, like this one. I hope you have as much fun doing this as I did. You can put any kind of a meandering pattern around the rest of the boot. I chose to do feather meandering, but you could do loops, you could do loops and stars, you could do circles, swirls, curls, anything you can imagine. And those have been shown on many, many of my shows. So if you're interested in those, just kind of look through a couple of them and you'll find them. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you have some boots that are made for walking. I'll see you next time.